Hello everyone, and welcome to the SFE's HSE Induction for the Offshore Transportation and Installation Operations. I am Michael, and I will be guiding you through this HSE Induction presentation. Today, we are going to cover some important health, safety, and environmental guidelines that will help us work safely and efficiently during the T&I scope. The main goal of this HSE induction is to ensure everyone understands and follows our project HSE procedures. These rules are not just paperwork exercise, they are essential for keeping us safe and getting our work done efficiently. We will cover several important modules today, starting with an introduction to the project scope. Then, we will move on to basic safety management and risk management. After that, we will discuss training and fitness for work, and the importance of effective communication. We will also go over emergency response procedures, environmental protection, and operational procedures. In addition to this HSE induction, when you arrive at the site, you will receive a site-specific HSE induction to ensure you are fully prepared. Our goal is not just to go through these topics but to understand and remember them. Once you complete the training module, you will take a knowledge test to assess your understanding. You need to score 70% or higher to pass. The question paper can be downloaded from our DMS, and the guidance note in the knowledge test questionnaire will provide further information. The knowledge test document is password protected, and the password is embedded within the training module. Make sure you complete the training attentively to obtain the password. After finishing the test, submit your answers to our HSE department. They will update your training records based on your test results. Further details are in the email you received from the HSE department regarding the submission of the completed knowledge test and your feedback. Thank you in advance for your attention to this HSE induction module. Now, let us move on to the objectives of this course. The main aim of the HSE induction training is to build a strong understanding of our project's health, safety, and environmental procedures. This is to ensure that our offshore operations are both safe and efficient. To give you a clearer picture, the objectives are divided into several key outcomes. It will start from understanding the specific HSE protocols for our project and why following these rules is so important in an offshore environment. For example, knowing the correct emergency evacuation procedures can be a lifesaver during an unexpected incident. During this session, we will focus on identifying, assessing, and managing risks. Via this HSE induction, we also aim to encourage a proactive safety culture. This means every team member should actively participate in safety practices and discussions. For instance, if you notice a spill that could cause someone to slip, report it immediately and take steps to clean it up or mark the area. Another important aspect is learning operational safety procedures. This includes knowing how to respond to emergencies and using safety equipment correctly for tasks such as lifting heavy objects, and it's important to comply with relevant local and international regulations. This ensures that we are not only following best practices but also adhering to legal requirements, which can prevent penalties and protect our project's reputation. By the end of this training, you should be well versed in these areas, prepared to handle risks, and committed to maintaining a safe working environment. Now that we have covered the course objectives, let us discuss the modules we will cover in this HSE induction training today. In the Module 1, we have an introduction to the project scope of work. This will give us an overview of the tasks and challenges we will face. Next, we will cover general safety management. This includes basic safety protocols, like using personal protective equipment properly. Then we will learn about risk management and control. This module teaches us how to identify, assess, and manage risks. For instance, knowing how to anticipate weather changes offshore helps us plan and mitigate impacts. We also have a module on training and fitness to work. It's important that everyone is trained and fit for their tasks. We will discuss about communication, as effective communication is key. Emergency response and incident reporting is another important module. Knowing what to do in emergencies and how to report incidents. Environmental protection and compliance is also covered. In the final module, we will go over operational procedures and safe work practices. Each of these modules is designed to prepare you with the knowledge to work safely and efficiently. So let us move forward with these important modules in mind. Alright, let us begin with Module 1, which is an introduction to the project scope of work. Understanding the scope is important because it gives us a clear picture of what needs to be achieved and how we are going to do it. In the following slides, we will go through the project details including SFE's project key site activities. So, what's this project all about? We are talking about the TPC Offshore Wind Power Generation Phase 2 project, commonly referred to as OWP2. To give you some context, this project is currently being developed off the coast of Taiwan and is a significant step forward in renewable energy for the region. The project is owned by Taiwan Power Corporation and is being developed by Foxwell Energy Corporation Limited. The wind farm will have a capacity of 300 megawatt, which will be generated by 31 Vestas V174-9.5 megawatt turbines. To put this into perspective, the energy produced by these turbines will be substantial enough to power approximately 270,000 households annually. The pre-assembly work for these turbines will take place at Taichung Port, which is strategically located off the coast of Changhua County. This location is important as it facilitates the efficient transportation of these large components to the offshore site. The offshore wind farm itself will consist of several critical components. There are the 31 jacket foundations that will support the turbines. There will also be a 300 MVA offshore substation and an onshore electrical room to manage the electricity generated. Think of the substation as a central hub that collects all the power generated by the turbines and then transmits it to the onshore electrical room, which further distributes it to the grid. Also, the project involves laying extensive cabling. That means over 60 kilometers of 66 kilovolt composite inter-array cables and more than 60 kilometers of 160 kilovolt composite export cables. These cables are like the arteries and veins of the project, transporting electricity from the turbines to the substation and then to the onshore grid. Once completed, this project is expected to generate 1 gigawatt-hours of power per year. This is a massive contribution to Taiwan's energy needs and will help reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 403,611 metric tons annually. To give you a better idea, this reduction in emissions is equivalent to taking over 86,000 cars off the road each year. This project is not just about generating power but also about making a significant positive impact on the environment. One of the key aspects of this project is that it supports Taiwan's ambitious goal of increasing the share of renewable energy to 20% of the country's total energy consumption by 2025. This is a part of a broader effort to combat climate change and transition to sustainable energy sources. So, the TPC Offshore Wind Power Generation Phase 2 project is a major renewable energy initiative that combines advanced technology, complex logistics, and significant environmental benefits. It stands as a model for future offshore wind projects and a critical component of Taiwan's renewable energy strategy. Alright, let us move on and talk about the key activities involved in our transportation and installation scope. These activities are important for the success and safety of our project, so it's important that we have a clear understanding of them. First up, we have the transportation and installation of 31 wind turbine jacket foundations. These are the structures that support the wind turbines, and they are essential for the stability and efficiency of the turbines. Along with these foundations, we will also be handling associated components. This includes boat landings, ladders and resting platforms and other various items. Each of these activities requires careful planning and execution to ensure safety and efficiency. Let's quickly go over the other key activities involved in our transportation and installation scope. We will be transporting the wind turbines and their associated structures to the offshore site using specialized transportation vessels. This involves carefully loading, securing, and shipping these large components across potentially rough seas. Once the components arrive at the site, we will proceed with the installation of the wind turbines. This includes erecting the turbine towers, attaching the nacelles and blades, and ensuring everything is securely in place. Alright, let us briefly cover a few more key project site activities involved in our scope. We have the fabrication of the offshore platform, jacket and associated components such as boat landings, ladders, and the offshore substation. This platform will house critical equipment necessary for the wind farm's operations. It is important to note that the jacket and offshore substation are being fabricated at the Petro-Vietnam fabrication facility in Vietnam. While the fabrication itself is not part of the T&I's scope, it is still under SFE's custody. Once the fabrication is complete, The jacket and platform are transported from the Petro-Vietnam facility to Taiwan waters. This is a significant milestone in our project because it means we are getting closer to the installation phase. After that, we have the hookup and commissioning of the platform. This step ensures that the platform is fully operational and integrated into the wind farm systems. It's the last piece of the puzzle that makes sure everything works together seamlessly. Okay, let us move on to Module 2, which covers our company HSE policies and safety management. This module is important as it lays the foundation for how we approach health, safety, and environmental management across all our operations. In this slide, we will talk about our company's commitment to health, safety, and environmental standards. At Shinfox Far East, we are dedicated to maintaining high standards as outlined in the ISM code, ISO 14001, and ISO 45001. These standards are essential because they help us manage and mitigate risks associated with our activities, whether we are onshore or out at sea. Our policy is all about creating a safe and healthy work environment. We aim to prevent injuries and illnesses by adopting progressive safety practices and protecting the environment. For example, when we report near misses and unsafe conditions, we can break the incident pyramid from its base and prevent serious incidents. Proper waste disposal is another critical aspect, as it helps protect marine life. Also, our policy ensures we conduct ongoing risk assessments to identify and mitigate hazards. We are committed to complying with all legal and regulatory requirements and continuously improving our safety management skills and HSE management system. By understanding and following this policy, we all contribute to a safer and more sustainable working environment. Please understand that it is not just about following rules. It is about making sure we all go home safe and sound at the end of the day and that we protect the environment for future generations. Now let us dive into another key topic, the prohibition of drug and alcohol use. And trust me, this is important stuff, so listen up. First things first, employees and contractors are absolutely not allowed to work under the influence of alcohol or drugs. This rule is non-negotiable. Why? Because these substances can seriously mess with your physical and mental abilities. Think about it, even a small amount of alcohol can slow your reaction time. Imagine trying to operate machinery or perform complex tasks when you are not at your sharpest. Not a good idea, right? Also, here is something that you need to know. These substances can stay in your bloodstream longer than you might think. Their effects can pop up while you are working, leading to accidents and injuries. Picture this. You are operating heavy equipment and suddenly, wham! The effects of that medication you took ages ago kick in. It's like a bad plot twist in a movie, except it is real and dangerous. So, what is on the no-go list? Illegal drugs, obviously, but also any alcoholic beverages, solvents, glue, or other products used for intoxication. And let us not forget prescription drugs that are not being used for their intended medical purpose. For example, using your prescription meds to get high instead of treating your condition is a big no. This kind of misuse can impair your judgment and coordination, creating unsafe working conditions. Our strict no drug and alcohol policy is here to ensure everyone stays safe and can perform their duties effectively. By sticking to this policy, we can prevent a lot of potential accidents and maintain a safe working environment for everyone. So, let us all commit to maintaining a drug and alcohol-free workplace. After all, the only high we need is the high standards of safety and professionalism we set for ourselves. Okay, let us talk about our project HSE objectives and targets. Our primary objective is no harm to people, assets, the environment, and company reputation. What does this mean? Simply put, we are committed to making sure no one gets hurt, our equipment and facilities stay in top shape, we minimize our environmental impact, and we keep our company's good name intact. For instance, by following safety protocols and reporting hazards, we can prevent accidents and protect both people and assets. It's like being a superhero but without the cape. Safety protocols are our superpowers. Now, let us dive into our specific targets. Our first big target is zero lost time injury. This means we strive to have no injuries that cause employees to miss work. We want everyone to go home in the same condition they came in. We also aim for zero environmental incidents. This involves taking steps to prevent spills, emissions, and other environmental harms. Think of it as being a guardian of the earth. Proper waste disposal and spill response measures are our tools. Remember, every time we prevent a spill, a turtle somewhere does a happy dance. In addition to the zero environmental incident, have a target to keep our total recordable injury frequency rate, TRIFR, below 0.38. This helps us track all types of injuries and near misses, encouraging continuous improvement in safety practices. It's like setting a high score in a video game, except here, the lower the score, the better we are doing. So, let us keep these targets in mind and work together to hit them. In this slide, we can take a look at our HSE organization chart. We have got one HSE advisor and two HSE officers assigned to our major working vessel, SFE Hercules. These two HSE officers are like the dynamic duo of safety, covering shifts around the clock. One officer works from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., and the other takes over from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. This way, we have got our HSE bases covered 24/7. They report to the HSE advisor, who works a day shift from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. This setup ensures we have overlapping working hours, which is great for proper shift handovers and effective HSE communication. So, if you spot any hazards or have HSE concerns, don't hesitate to raise them directly with these officers. They are there for prompt intervention and to keep everything running smoothly and safely. Overseeing all of this is our HSE manager, who ensures that all implemented HSE programs comply with statutory requirements, employers' requirements, and our HSE plan and procedures. Remember, the HSE team is here to help, so keep those lines of communication open and let's work together to keep our workplace safe. Alright, let us talk about something that directly involves you and your roles and responsibilities. These are not just tasks on a checklist, they are the everyday actions that ensure your safety and the well-being of everyone around you. First things first, it is important for each of you to be well versed with the HSE guidelines specific to our project site. Now, let us talk about your gear, personal protective equipment, or PPE. This stuff is like your superhero armor on site. Wear it correctly, keep it in good shape, and if there is a problem, let your supervisor know immediately. It's not just about wearing it, it is about wearing it right. I mean, Batman would not wear his cape backwards, right? Participation is key, especially when it comes to risk assessments. Your insights can help us build a safer workplace. If you see something inappropriate, whether it's an incident, a near miss, or just a hazard, report it right away. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Think of it as your chance to be a safety detective. Emergencies can happen, and being prepared can make all the difference. Make sure you are familiar with the site escape routes and emergency procedures. Environmental responsibility is also part of your role. How you manage waste, use resources, and interact with our local environment reflects our collective commitment to the earth. But beyond following rules, it is about fostering a culture of safety and health. Encourage your mates to stick to the protocols and be a positive influence on the team. Inspections and audits are not just formalities, they are opportunities for improvement. Participate with them, and if there are actions to be taken, take them seriously. It's like a safety report card, so let us aim for an A+. And meetings, the Toolbox Talk meeting and last-minute risk assessment. They are not just boxes to tick off. Your active attendance and suggestions can lead to proactive solutions that enhance our HSE standards. So, please never be silent on safety concerns. Understand the risks associated with your job and remember, your voice matters. Let us all be safety champions. Let us move on to Module 3, which covers risk management and control. This is an important part of our operations, so we will touch on some key points briefly on the following slides. In this slide, we are going to discuss the risk management framework. Risk management starts with identifying potential hazards that could negatively impact people, operations, or the environment. For example, in offshore operations, a potential hazard might be a sudden change in weather conditions that could affect transportation and installation activities. Once these hazards are identified, we analyze the risks to determine their likelihood and potential consequences. This helps us prioritize which risks need immediate attention. After identifying and analyzing the risks, we implement effective control measures to mitigate them. This ensures the risks are managed to acceptable levels. Let us talk about the core elements of our risk management process. It starts from risk assessment. As you may know that risk assessment is a systematic evaluation of potential risks associated with project activities. This helps us determine the necessary control measures. For instance, assessing the risk of lifting operations can help us implement safer procedures to prevent accidents. Method statements are detailed documents that describe how work will be carried out, specifying safety steps and the sequence of operations to mitigate risks. For example, a method statement for installing a turbine might include steps for safely lifting and securing the turbine components. Next is the Job Safety Analysis, JSA. The JSA breaks down each job task to identify potential hazards and implement measures to reduce risk. For instance, during a JSA for diving operations, we might identify the risk of equipment failure and implement regular checks and maintenance schedules to mitigate this risk. Another important element is the toolbox talks. Toolbox talks are regular, short safety meetings designed to reinforce safety knowledge and ensure all team members are aware of specific risks and precautions for their tasks. For example, if employees are going to carry out activities at height, a toolbox talk before the shift would cover the hazards of working at height and the importance of using fall protection equipment. Last but not least, the permit to work system is an important control system used to ensure that high-risk work is planned, authorized, and carried out safely by qualified personnel. By following this risk management framework, we can proactively manage risks and ensure a safe working environment. Remember, risk management is a continuous process, and your active participation is essential. Alright team, let us dive into the fascinating world of risk assessment. So, what exactly is risk assessment? It is a systematic process to identify potential hazards in the workplace and evaluate how likely and severe any harm could be from these hazards. It's important because it helps us proactively manage risks, ensuring the safety and well-being of everyone on site. By identifying and controlling hazards before they cause harm, we not only protect our team but also improve operational efficiency. The first step in our process is identifying hazards. This means examining our work environment thoroughly, looking at all processes, substances, equipment, and work methods. We need to ask, what could potentially cause harm here? Remember, a hazard can be anything from exposed wires and slippery floors to ergonomic risks and psychological stressors. Yes, even a wobbly chair in the break room counts. After we have identified the hazards, we assess the risks associated with them. This involves evaluating how likely it is that the hazard will cause harm and how severe that harm could be. This step is important because it helps us prioritize which risks need immediate attention based on their potential impact. It's also important to consider who might be affected. That means employees, contractors, visitors, or even the public. Once we have assessed the risks, the next step is to implement control measures. These are actions we take to eliminate or reduce the identified risks. We follow the hierarchy of control, starting with the elimination of the hazard if possible. If we can't eliminate it, we look at substitution, engineering controls like guards or ventilation, administrative controls like training or rotation, and finally, personal protective equipment as a last resort. Think of it like building a safety fortress, layer by layer. All these efforts must be documented. This is not just about filling out paperwork, it is about keeping clear, accessible records of what hazards we have found, how we have assessed them, and what measures we have put in place. Good documentation ensures that everyone is aware of the risks and understands the control measures. Risk assessment is not a one-time activity. It needs to be a living process that we revisit regularly. Changes in processes, tools, or regulations can all affect our risk landscape, so we must continuously review and update our assessments and control measures. It's like maintaining a garden. You have got to keep tending to it to keep it safe and flourishing. And remember, compliance with legal and regulatory requirements and site-specific rules is non-negotiable. We must ensure that all our risk assessment practices align with the latest safety regulations and project requirements. Let us quickly talk about toolbox meeting and last minute's risk assessment meetings. These are the quick meetings we have every day to make sure everyone's on the same page about safety before we start working. A toolbox meeting is a short, daily meeting that serves as a platform for discussing safety procedures and potential risks before starting work. For instance, before we begin a shift, We gather to talk through the day's tasks, the procedures involved, and the findings from our Job Safety Analysis (JSA). This ensures that everyone understands their roles and the safety measures in place. It is not just about ticking a box, it is about engaging actively with the team to identify and mitigate risks. In these meetings, your active participation is important. Everyone involved in the work, including seafarers and subcontractors, should voice any concerns or questions. This way, we can address issues early on and make sure everyone is on the same page. For example, if a subcontractor notices a potential hazard that wasn't covered in the JSA, bringing it up in the TBM can help us prevent accidents. Once the toolbox meeting is conducted, we confirm that everyone fully understands their role and the necessary precautions. This confirmation is recorded using an attendance sheet, a 60-second video, and photographs. When taking the video, ensure that it captures all participants, including workers, HSE personnel, and supervisors. In addition to toolbox meeting, we also conduct last-minute risk assessments before each activity. These last-minute risk assessments are quick checks to reassess any new risks that might have arisen since the last assessment. For example, if site conditions change due to weather, we need to reassess the risks and adjust our safety measures accordingly. Supervisors and HSE representatives must attend TBMs and last-minute risk assessments with employees to provide necessary input and ensure that safety protocols are followed. These meetings serve multiple purposes, such as they are forums for information sharing, informal training, positive reinforcement, pre-job planning, and hazard management. So please understand that toolbox meetings and last-minute risk assessments are integral to our daily operations. They help us stay proactive about safety, ensure everyone is informed and prepared, and ultimately prevent workplace accidents. This is another important topic: permit to work. Let us first understand, what is a permit to work? A permit to work is a formal written system used to control specific types of work that are potentially hazardous. It ensures that these activities are carried out safely and efficiently. For instance, if we need to perform hot work, such as welding or cutting, a permit will outline all the necessary safety precautions to prevent accidents like fires. There are some key requirements for this system. Only individuals who have received the PTW training and are competent can apply for permits. This ensures that the risks associated with the work are understood and properly managed. For example, someone trained in electrical safety would understand the dangers of working with live wires and the necessary precautions to take. Before any work begins, permits must be approved by authorized personnel. This step is important because it confirms that all safety measures are in place. For instance, before starting maintenance on a high-pressure system, we need to ensure that the system is properly depressurized and all safety equipment is ready. Once the work starts, it should be continuously monitored according to the permit conditions. This monitoring ensures compliance with the safety requirements until the job is completed or it reaches a safe stopping point. For example, if we are working in a confined space, continuous monitoring ensures that the atmosphere remains safe throughout the operation. So, the permit to work system is an important tool for managing hazardous work. It helps us ensure that only trained and competent individuals perform these tasks, that all safety measures are in place before starting, and that work is continuously monitored to maintain safety. In the next slide, we will review what are the activities requiring a permit to work. Alright, let us now talk about high-risk operations that require a permit. This is an important part of our safety protocols to make sure all potentially hazardous tasks are carried out safely and efficiently. Think of it as our ultimate safety checklist. High-risk operations are those activities that pose significant risks to health, safety, or the environment. To manage these risks, we require specific permits before such operations can begin. The permits ensure that all necessary safety measures are in place and that only trained and competent personnel are involved. For example, let us talk about confined space entry. Confined space entry is considered a high-risk operation. Working in confined spaces like tanks or silos can expose workers to hazardous atmospheres, limited oxygen, or even toxic gases. Before anyone enters a confined space, a permit must be issued. This permit confirms that the space has been tested for safety, appropriate ventilation is in place, and rescue plans are ready if needed. Another example is hot work, such as welding or cutting with torches. These activities can easily ignite fires if not properly controlled. A hot work permit ensures that fire safety measures, such as having fire extinguishers on hand and removing flammable materials from the area, are in place. Working at heights is another high-risk activity. Before using man baskets, ladders, scaffolding, or other elevated platforms, a permit ensures that fall protection measures like harnesses and guardrails are correctly implemented. Falls from heights can result in serious injuries or worse, so let us make sure we are safely tethered like Spider-Man. Electrical work is another high-risk area. Permits for electrical work confirm that the power is properly shut off, lockout, tagout procedures are followed, and only qualified electricians are performing the tasks. LODO will be implemented to isolate different types of energy from upstream sources to ensure downstream components are rendered inoperative. And let us not forget diving operations. These require permits due to the inherent risks involved, such as decompression sickness and drowning. Permits ensure that all diving equipment is in good condition and safety protocols are followed. The permit system is designed to ensure that all high-risk operations are thoroughly planned, risks are mitigated, and safety protocols are strictly followed. By adhering to this system, we can significantly reduce the likelihood of accidents and ensure a safer working environment for everyone. If you have any doubts about this topic, please get in touch with our HSE personnel. Also, make sure to refer to the SFE's Permit to Work procedure for further details. Alright team. Let us talk about simultaneous operations, or SIMOPS. This is an important topic for managing the complex and often overlapping activities that occur in our offshore projects. So, what exactly is SIMOPS? It refers to situations where multiple activities are happening at the same time and in the same area, which can lead to potential clashes and undesired events. Think of it as a busy intersection where everyone needs to know who is going where to avoid a fender bender. These undesired events could impact safety, the environment, damage assets, or even disrupt schedules and financials. For example, imagine two vessels working in close proximity. Without proper coordination, there is a risk of collision or interference with each other's operations. It's like two chefs trying to cook in the same small kitchen chaos. SIMOPS often involves coordination between multiple companies, including owners, contractors, subcontractors, and vendors. This means a large, multidisciplinary workforce is operating 24/7, conducting both routine and non-routine construction and commissioning activities. Identifying SIMOPS early, before work commences, is key to preventing problems. It's like planning a big party. You need to know who is bringing what to avoid three people bringing the same dip. Several issues can give rise to SIMOPS, like schedule clashes. This happens when two activities are planned in the same area at the same time. It's like booking two bands to play on the same stage at the same time. Yikes. SIMOPS can also involve contractual and third-party interfaces where liabilities and insurance risks need to be managed. Plus, environmental impacts are another critical factor, as simultaneous activities might increase the risk of spills or other environmental damage. Any combined or simultaneous activity that could compromise health, safety, and environmental criteria must be carefully managed. Effective management of SIMOPS involves thorough risk assessments to identify potential hazards and interactions between activities. For example, if two vessels are operating in close proximity, we need to evaluate the risk of collision and implement measures to prevent it. It is like playing chess, thinking several moves ahead to avoid trouble. Clear communication channels among all teams is important. Continuous information flow about operation statuses and potential risks ensures everyone is aware of ongoing activities and any changes. For instance, if one team encounters an unexpected issue, they can promptly inform others to avoid conflicts. Developing detailed plans that outline the sequence and timing of operations helps ensure activities are aligned and do not conflict. Employees must stay vigilant and report any observations that might affect safety and efficiency. Participation in safety briefings and adherence to procedural guidelines is mandatory for all involved personnel. So, please remember, managing SIMOPS effectively is key to ensuring safety and efficiency in our operations. Let us keep the communication flowing, the plans detailed, and the coordination tight. And maybe let's avoid booking two bands on the same stage. Alright, Let us discuss about the personal protective equipment, or PPE as we often call it. Think of PPE as your personal safety kit, something that has always got your back, or head, or feet for that matter, in the workplace. Starting from the top, we have got our hard hats with chin straps. Why the chin strap? It's to make sure the hat stays put, whether you are bending over or it's a windy day. It is all about keeping our heads safe from those unexpected bumps or falling objects. Then, there is the safety glasses. These are not your typical shades but are important for protecting our eyes from flying debris, dust, and harmful exposures. Moving down to our feet, we have got the safety boots. Remember, these are not just any boots. They need to have steel or composite toes. They are like a fortress for your feet, protecting you from heavy objects and keeping those ankle sprains at bay. Depending on where you are working, you will be donning a full-sleeve coverall. And let us not forget the hand gloves, essential for keeping our hands safe from all sorts of hazards. But here is the thing, the gear I just talked about. That is just the start. Depending on the specific job you are doing, you might need additional protection. That is why we do those task-specific assessments to figure out if there is anything else you need to be wearing. Where the work involves being within 2 meters of an unprotected key edge or working over water, employees should wear suitable PPE, such as life jackets or buoyancy aids. To recap, the minimum PPE requirements for the site are a hard hat, safety glasses, coveralls, safety shoes, and hand gloves. Additional PPE requirements will be determined based on a pre-task assessment and the specific area where you will be working. Remember, PPE is all about keeping you safe and sound while you are on the job. It's not just about following rules. It's about taking care of ourselves and making sure we all get home safely at the end of the day. Let us move to Module 4, Training and Fitness to Work. Training and fitness are crucial for ensuring that all team members are capable of performing their duties safely and effectively. In the coming slides, we will learn about the specific training requirements and fitness standards necessary for our operations. Let us now talk about the HSE training requirements for our project. This is to ensure everyone is well prepared to handle the various safety and operational challenges we might face. We have mandatory project training. This includes the project HSE Induction, which is an essential briefing that covers all the health, safety, and environmental protocols specific to our project. Also, there is the Vessel HSE Induction or Site Induction, depending on where you will be working. For example, if you are going to be stationed on a vessel, the Vessel HSE Induction will cover safety procedures unique to that environment. We also have mandatory offshore training. This begins with the GWO Basic Safety Training, which provides fundamental safety skills. Think of it as your basic toolkit for dealing with offshore hazards. This includes everything from manual handling to fire safety. GWO Basic Safety Training is mandatory for you to access any offshore structure. GWO Basic Safety Training Standard consists of first aid, manual handling, fire awareness, working at heights and sea survival. Anyone who will be traveling to offshore sites by helicopter are required to undergo Helicopter Underwater Escape Training, HUET, in addition to the GWO Basic Safety Training. This is important. Imagine being in a helicopter that has to make an emergency landing in water. HUET teaches you how to escape safely in such scenarios. Likewise, the Basic Offshore Safety Induction and Emergency Training, BOSIET, covers a wide range of emergency response skills, such as using life rafts and survival at sea. If you are not going to work on any offshore structure and stationed only on the construction vessel, BOSIET is also accepted. It's important to note that, according to our project HSE's training matrix, any other job-specific training must also be completed by the employees. This ensures that everyone has the specialized knowledge needed for their particular roles. Please understand that completing these trainings is not just a formality. It is essential for your safety and the safety of your colleagues. In this slide, we will discuss the fitness to work requirement for offshore. It is important to ensure that all non-marine crew members possess current medical certificates. These certificates confirm their fitness to work offshore throughout their tenure on the offshore wind farm. This means every individual must undergo a medical examination to verify they are physically capable of handling the offshore working conditions. Now let us look at the certification requirements by crew type. For general non-marine crew, They need either an OEUK medical or a GWO medical certificate. OEUK medical is a standard offshore medical certificate, while GWO medical aligns with the Global Wind Organization standards. For example, if you're working as a technician on the wind farm, you will need one of these certificates to ensure you can safely perform your duties. For divers, the requirement is a certificate of fitness for dive. This certificate ensures that divers are physically fit to carry out underwater tasks safely. For instance, a diver working on the maintenance of underwater structures must have this certification to confirm their fitness for such demanding tasks. Catering staff, who work on the vessels providing food and other services, need an STCW medical certificate. The STCW, Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping, certificate is a standard requirement for all seafarers to confirm they are fit for their roles on the ship. For crew members sailing under the ROC, Republic of China, flag vessel, medical examinations and checkups must be conducted at specific facilities. These include public hospitals and teaching hospitals. These designated facilities are equipped to handle the specific medical examination needs of seafarers, ensuring compliance with the relevant regulations. So it is important to remember that the medical fitness certificate for all roles is valid for a maximum of 2 years. This means that every 2 years, crew members must undergo a new medical examination to renew their certification. For example, if you obtained your certificate in 2024, you would need to renew it by 2026 to continue working offshore. Remember, maintaining up-to-date medical certificates is essential for ensuring the safety and health of all crew members working offshore. Regular medical checkups help prevent potential health issues and ensure everyone is fit to handle the challenges of offshore work. Let us move on to Module 5, which focuses on employee communication and participation. Effective communication is important for safety, as it ensures everyone is aware of potential hazards and the necessary precautions. Alright, let us talk about the on-site communication and coordination meetings. These are key to ensuring safety and efficiency, especially in our offshore operations. These meetings are vital for aligning all team members on safety protocols, discussing and managing potential workplace hazards, and reinforcing a culture of safety across all operations. It's like a daily huddle to make sure we are all on the same playbook. Let us run through the different types of meetings and their purposes. The daily coordination meeting involves all discipline leads and is led by the SFE's offshore construction manager. This ensures everyone knows the day's tasks and potential issues. The vessel coordination meeting, led by the master, involves the vessel crew and focuses on daily vessel operations and safety protocols. Then we have the toolbox meeting, held daily per shift with the work team, led by the relevant worksite supervisor and HSE representative. It's a short briefing on the day's tasks, risks, and safety measures. For example, before a lifting operation, the team reviews steps and checks equipment. Safety stand-downs involve all workers and are held as required, especially after a high-potential incident or significant accident. It's like hitting the pause button to make sure we all recalibrate and learn from what happened. The welfare and safety meeting is scheduled as per the SFE safety management system and addresses broader welfare and safety issues. For example, it might discuss improving living conditions on the vessel. It's like our version of a town hall meeting, but with a focus on keeping everyone happy and healthy. The weekly HSE meeting focuses on health, safety, and environmental issues specific to the offshore activities conducted among the SFE HSE group. It looks at key HSE issues, statistics reporting, trend analysis, and a 1-month look-ahead HSE forecast. It's where we get into the nitty-gritty of safety stats and future planning. And any new safety and environmental regulations unveiled by authorities will be discussed here too. These meetings keep everyone informed, prepared, and aligned on safety, preventing accidents and managing hazards effectively. Let us now talk about the importance of hazard reporting and how we manage it using our hazard reporting system. When you spot an unsafe act or condition, it's important to report it immediately. It's like being a safety detective. Your sharp eyes and quick actions can prevent accidents and keep everyone safe. Here's how the process works. When you observe a hazard, you, the originator, need to complete an HSE communication card or the hazard reporting card. As you can see from the slide, in this card you can capture all the necessary details about the hazard you have spotted. Once you have filled out the card, you submit it to the HSE department. This step ensures that your concern is formally recorded and can be reviewed by HSE advisors and relevant supervisors. The HSE department then provides a control number and reviews the hazard reporting card. If the situation requires action, the report is shared with the relevant supervisor or manager who can initiate appropriate measures. For example, if you notice a slippery floor in a high-traffic area, you will fill out the hazard report, and the HSE team would review it and then assign it to a maintenance supervisor to address the issue promptly. If action is needed, it's documented and recorded in the HSE Action Tracking Registry. This ensures that the corrective measures are tracked until completion. For instance, if a broken piece of equipment poses a safety risk, the action to repair or replace it would be tracked in this system until the equipment is fixed. It's like having a safety to-do list that we check off as we go. If no immediate action is required, feedback is provided to you, the originator, to inform you of the decision by our HSE department. This step ensures that all employees are kept in the loop and understand the outcomes of their reports. Once the necessary action is initiated, it's continually tracked until it is closed. This ensures accountability and that all safety concerns are fully addressed. For example, once the slippery floor is cleaned and a non-slip mat is installed, the action would be closed in the system, indicating that the hazard has been mitigated. Through this structured process, we ensure that all safety hazards are reported, reviewed, and addressed promptly. So, let's keep those eyes peeled, report those hazards, and make sure our workplace stays safe and sound. In this slide, we will talk about something really important: the authority to stop work. This protocol empowers every single one of you to halt any work you believe is unsafe. Yes, you heard that right, you have got the power. Stop work authority means that every employee has the responsibility to stop work if they perceive a dangerous situation that could cause harm or put personnel at risk. For instance, if you see someone working at heights without proper fall protection, you have the right to stop the work immediately. So, what do you do if you spot a dangerous situation? First, stop the work immediately. Then, notify your coworkers, supervisors, or HSE personnel about the stop work action. This ensures everyone is aware of the potential hazard and no one else is put at risk. Picture it like a freeze frame in a movie: everything stops until we figure out what's going on. Then we investigate the situation to determine whether the work should resume or remain suspended until the risk is mitigated. This involves discussing the hazard with the team and reaching a consensus on the best course of action. For example, if there is a risk of equipment failure, competent personnel should inspect the equipment thoroughly before deciding to resume work. Once the necessary corrections are made, they must be inspected by qualified experts to verify the issue has been resolved. Only after the problem is fixed and inspected can work safely continue. For instance, if you had to stop work due to a gas leak, a competent technician should inspect the repairs and confirm that it's safe to proceed. The key takeaway here is to remember the phrase: see it, own it, stop. If you see something unsafe, take responsibility and stop the work. Don't assume someone else will handle it. Your prompt action can prevent accidents and save lives. So, channel your inner safety superhero and don't hesitate to use your authority to stop work. Let us keep our workplace safe and sound, one stop at a time. Remember, in the world of safety, every single one of you has the power to make a difference. In this slide, we will discuss the detail about our incentive program and the monthly HSE awards. These awards recognize outstanding efforts in maintaining our health, safety, and environmental standards. Think of it as our way of saying thanks for being awesome and keeping everyone safe. Starting with, we have the Star Safety Workgroup Award. This award is given to the team that adheres to HSE procedures and adopts safe work practices. For example, if a team consistently follows all safety protocols and ensures that their work environment is hazard-free, they may receive this award. Also, maintaining 5S housekeeping at the worksite is crucial. 5S stands for sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain, which are practices that help maintain an organized and safe work environment. Being incident-free is also a key norm for this award. A team that goes an entire month without any accidents or safety violations is demonstrating safety standards. Then we have the Hazard Hunting Champion Award. This one is all about the quantity and quality of hazard observation cards submitted. It encourages everyone to actively spot and report potential hazards. For example, if an employee notices a loose railing or a slippery floor and reports it using the hazard observation card, they contribute to a safer work environment. The more proactive and detailed their observations, the higher their chances of winning this award. We also have the Safety Ambassador Award. This award recognizes individuals who drive active engagement and advocate for safety leadership at the workfront. It goes to those who not only follow safety protocols themselves but also inspire their colleagues to do the same. For example, if you regularly conduct safety briefings, mentor new team members on safety practices, and lead by example, you could be our next safety ambassador. These awards are designed to motivate everyone to prioritize safety and take ownership of creating a safe work environment. So, let us aim high, keep those safety standards top-notch, and maybe even have some fun along the way. After all, who does not love a bit of friendly competition with the added bonus of keeping everyone safe? Let us get out there and win some awards, mate. Our next module, number 6, which focuses on emergency response and incident reporting. In this module, we will discuss how to effectively respond to emergencies and the proper procedures for reporting incidents to ensure safety and compliance. Emergency preparedness and response, which is very important for ensuring safety in case of any emergency. We should understand that it is important to identify the nature of the emergency first, whether it is a fire, injury, or spill. For example, if you see a fire, you must recognize it quickly to take appropriate action. Immediately cease work and alert others around you. If there is a fire alarm, activate it, or notify the site HSE personnel or emergency response team right away. The next action is to follow the designated evacuation routes promptly. It's essential to know these routes beforehand. Gather at the designated assembly area for head count and make sure your team is accounted for. Supervisors play a key role in ensuring everyone is present at the assembly point. They assist with disseminating information and instructions from the emergency response team. For instance, if the emergency response team needs to inform everyone about a safe area or additional hazards, the supervisor can help spread that information quickly and accurately. You must not re-enter the site until clearance is given by emergency services or site management. This ensures that it's safe to go back and prevents additional injuries. For reporting emergencies, contact site emergency response personnel and provide clear information about the location, type of emergency, and known injuries. Quick and accurate communication can save lives and minimize harm. By familiarizing yourself with the site emergency procedures and acting quickly and appropriately, you can help prevent the situation from escalating and reduce potential damage. Okay, let us dive into the emergency response organization chart, which outlines all the roles and responsibilities during an emergency. Think of it as our emergency playbook, making sure everyone knows their position and what to do when things get intense. At the top of the chart, we have got the big guns, that means relevant government agencies and hospital. This includes the Taichung Port Authority, Coast Guard, fire, ambulance, and police. These folks are important for external support during an emergency. Next, we have the SFE's Marine Coordination Center, MCC. These guys are the communication experts, linking up with both government agencies and ensuring that all necessary parties are informed and can respond promptly. They are like the air traffic controllers, making sure everyone's in the loop. Then there's the DPA, CSO, Designated Person Ashore, Company Security Officer, and the T&I Project Manager. The DPA, CSO handles security and safety from the shore, keeping everything secure on land. Meanwhile, the T&I Project Manager oversees the technical and installation aspects, making sure everything runs smoothly. On the ground, or rather, on the water, we have the on-scene commander, usually the vessel master or OCM, offshore construction manager. This person is in charge of managing the situation on site, coordinating with the support vessel captain, and ensuring all emergency protocols are followed. They report the emergency situation to the onboard Foxwell's Marine Coordinator. The shipboard emergency response team leader, usually the chief officer, leads the shipboard emergency response team. This team includes the firefighting team, search and rescue team, panel doctor, medical and stretcher team, and fast rescue boat team. For example, In case of a fire, the firefighting team would jump into action to control and extinguish the blaze, while the search and rescue team ensures all personnel are safely evacuated. Think of them as our shipboard superheroes, each with their own special powers. We also have the coordinator, usually the site HSE officer, who assists with overall safety management and coordinates with the non-essential crew. These crew members muster at designated stations to ensure everyone is accounted for and out of harm's way. It's like a roll call in a fire drill, everyone needs to be present and safe. Understanding this structure ensures everyone knows their role and responsibilities during an emergency. This is crucial for an effective response, preventing chaos and making sure we handle the situation like pros. So, let's keep this playbook in mind and be ready to act swiftly and safely if the need arises. And remember, in our emergency action movie, everyone has a starring role. Let us discuss about the incident investigation and reporting. It is essential to understand the process for managing and reporting incidents to ensure safety and compliance. When an incident occurs, it must be reported immediately. Notify the site construction manager and site HSE supervisor directly or via phone, line app, or email. A joint investigation will be carried out between SFE and Foxwell based on the incident severity. The initial incident notification will be sent within 24 hours, and the scene investigation and report review with relevant personnel should follow. The final report will be issued within 7 days, based on the incident severity. HSE team will ensure all actions identified are tracked in a central registry and closed out with relevant supporting documents. In the event of a severe incident, such as one involving death or multiple injuries, the Marine Coordination Center and local authorities must be notified within 8 hours. This ensures compliance with regulations and prompt action. Key contacts for SFE include Richard Hawkins, the offshore construction manager, Roland Agnel de Souza, the installation manager, and Michael Jung, the HSE manager. For Foxwell, the key contacts are Elaine, HSE manager, Jackie, deputy HSE manager, Alex and Mitch are the HSE engineers. Now we will be starting Module 7, which focuses on environmental protection and compliance. This module will cover the key practices and regulations necessary to minimize environmental impact and ensure our operations adhere to legal standards. The environmental impact assessment is a critical process for understanding and mitigating the environmental impacts of our projects. The objective of an EIA is to systematically identify and evaluate environmental risks to formulate robust mitigation strategies. For example, before starting the wind farm project, we have assessed the potential impacts on local wildlife and ecosystems to develop strategies that minimize harm. All project activities must comply with national and international environmental regulations. This ensures that our operations meet legal standards and helps protect the environment. Gathering baseline environmental data on marine ecosystems, water quality, and existing noise levels is important. This data provides a benchmark to measure the impacts of our activities and helps us understand the pre-existing conditions. We use predictive models to assess potential impacts from construction and operational activities of wind farms. These models help us forecast how our projects will affect the environment and guide us in making informed decisions. For instance, we have used models to predict the noise impact on marine life and take steps to minimize it. We also develop and proposed measures to prevent, reduce, or offset negative environmental impacts. This includes action like underwater bubble curtains to protect marine mammals from high noise operations, creating buffer zones to protect sensitive habitats, or implementing advanced technologies to reduce emissions. Through this EIA process, we ensure that our projects are environmentally responsible and sustainable, balancing development with the need to protect our planet. In following slide, we will discuss about the EIA key findings of this project. Continuing from our previous discussion on environmental impact assessments, EIA, let us now look at the key findings from our EIA. For marine habitats, we found that turbine installation could potentially disturb the seabed. This disturbance can affect the benthic organisms living there. Also, changes in local marine traffic due to construction activities can alter the movement patterns of marine life. For example, increased boat traffic might disrupt the natural behavior of fish and other marine animals. Regarding water quality, construction activities pose a risk of sediment displacement and increased turbidity. This can impact marine life by reducing water clarity and affecting the organisms that depend on clean water. In addition, there is a risk of possible contamination from accidental spills and runoff. For instance, if there is a spill of fuel or other hazardous materials, it can lead to environmental damage. Noise pollution is another critical concern. Underwater noise during pile driving can disturb or harm marine mammals, particularly sensitive species like dolphins and whales. This noise can interfere with their communication and navigation. Understanding these key findings allows us to develop specific measures to mitigate these impacts. Continuing from our discussion on the key findings of the Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA, let us now focus on the mitigation strategies we've developed to address these issues. For marine habitats, we will implement exclusion zones during sensitive periods to minimize disturbance to marine life. For example, if a specific area is a breeding ground for fish, we will restrict activities during breeding season to avoid disruption. Also, post-construction, we will engage in restoration projects to enhance habitats that may have been degraded. Regarding water quality, we will use silt curtains to control sediment spread during construction. This will help maintain water clarity and protect marine organisms from the harmful effects of increased turbidity. Moreover, we will enforce strict protocols for handling and disposal of hazardous materials to prevent accidental spills and contamination. To address noise pollution, we will employ soft start techniques to reduce the impact of pile driving. This method gradually increases the intensity of the noise, giving marine animals time to move away from the area. Also, continuous monitoring and adaptive management will be implemented to keep noise levels in check. This could involve regular acoustic surveys to ensure that noise levels remain within safe limits and adjusting operations based on real-time data. We will also use underwater bubble curtains to protect marine mammals from high-noise operations. We aim to minimize our environmental footprint and protect the ecosystems surrounding our projects. These measures are designed to address the specific impacts identified in our EIA and ensure that we operate responsibly and sustainably. Let us now focus on environmental monitoring, which ensures continuous protection and assessment of the marine environment during project phases. For water quality assessments, we will conduct bi-weekly water sampling and analysis at multiple points around the construction site. This allows us to track changes and trends, ensuring compliance with environmental standards. For example, by regularly testing water samples, we can detect any increase in turbidity or contamination early and take corrective action. Acoustic monitoring for noise levels involves deploying underwater acoustic monitors around the perimeter of the construction zone. These monitors provide real-time data during daylight hours when pile driving is active. Monitoring helps us ensure noise levels remain within acceptable limits to minimize disturbance to marine life. For instance, if noise levels exceed safe thresholds, we can pause operations and implement additional noise reduction measures. Marine wildlife surveys are important for understanding the presence and behavior of marine mammals and fish. These surveys include both visual and acoustic methods to monitor wildlife. We will conduct monthly surveys with additional ones before and after major construction activities. For example, observing the behavior of dolphins around the site can help us adapt our operations to reduce any negative impacts. The data collected from these monitoring activities will help us assess the impact on marine life and adapt construction activities to mitigate adverse effects. Continuous monitoring ensures that we can respond promptly to any environmental concerns and maintain compliance with regulatory requirements. Okay. Continuing from our discussion on environmental monitoring, let us discuss on marine mammal identification. In Taiwan waters, there are a few common marine mammals we need to be aware of. The Chinese white dolphin, notable for its unique pale pink coloration, predominantly inhabits shallow coastal areas near our project site. These dolphins are sensitive indicators of environmental health, so monitoring their presence and behavior can give us valuable insights. Another species is the Formosan dolphin, typically smaller and sporting a dark gray hue. These dolphins are often found in the deeper waters surrounding the wind farm and adapt well to varying marine conditions. To identify these marine mammals, we use both visual identification and acoustic monitoring techniques. Visually, we observe body markings such as stripes or spots, dorsal fin shapes, and size. For instance, a Chinese white dolphin's pink coloration and specific markings make it distinguishable from other species. Also, We note group behavior, surface behaviors like breaching and tail slapping, and their interactions with human activities. Acoustic monitoring involves utilizing hydrophones, which are underwater microphones that pick up sound waves used by dolphins for echolocation. This allows us to track their movements and behavior underwater, which is particularly effective in murky or deep waters where visual spotting is challenging. For example, by listening to the echolocation clicks, we can determine the presence and activities of dolphins even when they are not visible. By accurately identifying and monitoring these marine mammals, we can better understand the impact of our construction activities and take appropriate measures to mitigate any adverse effects. Alright, let us now focus on marine mammal protection measures. One of our key strategies is to enforce no work periods during breeding seasons to minimize acoustic disturbances. As we discussed in the previous slides, we also implement advanced pile driving techniques that reduce sound levels, together with real-time acoustic monitoring to manage noise thresholds. This means using methods that generate less noise and constantly monitoring the noise levels to ensure they stay within acceptable limits. Protecting the Chinese white dolphin is particularly important because they are classified as near threatened, primarily due to habitat degradation and pollution from coastal and marine activities. By focusing on their protection, we can also aid the broader marine environment as they act as an umbrella species. Our protection strategies include the deployment of acoustic and visual monitoring systems to ensure immediate cessation of construction activities if dolphins are detected. For instance, if our monitoring systems pick up dolphin activity near the construction site, all operations will stop immediately to prevent any potential harm. Also, we establish protected areas around known habitats to safeguard these critical zones from project impacts. This includes restrictions on vessel speeds and prohibitions on certain types of equipment to minimize disturbances. For example, in areas where dolphins are known to live, we might limit the speed of boats to reduce noise and prevent collisions. These measures are designed to protect marine mammals effectively and ensure that our operations do not negatively impact their populations. Okay, let us talk about waste segregation, an important part of our environmental responsibility. Think of it as sorting your laundry but for the planet. Segregating waste prevents marine pollution and protects aquatic life. By keeping plastic waste out of the ocean, we protect marine species from ingestion and entanglement. Plus, sticking to strict environmental laws and regulations helps us avoid legal penalties and promotes sustainable practices. Nobody wants to be the team that pollutes and gets fined, right? Safely managing hazardous materials reduces the risk of accidents and environmental contamination. For instance, segregating chemicals from general waste can prevent harmful reactions and spills. It's like making sure you don't mix up your fireworks and your campfire. Safety first. Streamlining waste management processes saves time and resources, lowering disposal costs by reducing the amount of waste classified as hazardous. It's all about working smarter, not harder. Improving recycling and reuse of materials supports sustainability. Recycling paper, plastic, and metal reduces the need for raw materials and decreases our environmental footprint. It's like giving old stuff a second life, and who doesn't love a good makeover? Also, precise tracking and documentation of waste types and quantities help in better waste management planning. It's like keeping a food diary but for trash, helps you see where improvements can be made. We'll discuss more about the waste segregation in next slide. As we continue the discussion about the waste segregation protocols, it is important to remember that we implement designated collection points to segregate waste right where it is generated. This ensures that waste is sorted immediately, reducing contamination and making recycling more effective. Utilizing a color-coded system simplifies segregation. That means blue bins are for recyclable materials like paper, plastic, and metal. Green bins are for non-recyclable waste. Red bins are for hazardous materials, including chemicals and toxic waste. Proper storage of waste is incredibly important. Imagine if we mixed it all up. It would be like trying to make a salad with ingredients from the trash. Yuck. By keeping things sorted from the start, we make sure that recyclables actually get recycled and hazardous materials are handled safely. Remember, every little bit helps, and together, we can keep our workplace and the planet clean and green. Continuing from our discussion on waste segregation protocols, let us now look at waste disposal methods. For non-hazardous waste disposal, We deal with types of waste such as construction debris, organic waste, and general municipal waste. These wastes are managed using authorized landfills and recycling programs to process and repurpose materials. For example, construction debris can often be recycled into new building materials, while organic waste can be composted. When it comes to hazardous waste, which includes oils, chemicals, and contaminated equipment, it must be handled and disposed of by certified waste management companies specializing in hazardous materials. This ensures that these dangerous substances are dealt with safely and in compliance with strict environmental regulations to prevent pollution and ensure worker safety. For instance, used oil from machinery needs to be collected and treated by a certified company to avoid soil and water contamination. For special handling, we use designated facilities that comply with environmental standards for disposing of sensitive waste. This might include electronic waste, medical waste, or other types of waste that require careful handling to avoid environmental damage. So, all waste is managed in a way that minimizes environmental impact, promotes recycling and reuse, and complies with legal requirements. This is the final module in the HSE Induction. In this module, we are focusing on operational procedures and safe work practices, which are essential for maintaining safety and efficiency in our operations. In this slide, we are going to discuss the worker identification system, which uses a color-coded hard hat system for easy identification of different roles on site. The red helmets are used by HSE personnel. So, if you see someone with a red helmet, you know they are the ones to contact for any safety concerns or issues. White helmets are designated for PMT managers, leads, engineers, supervisors, and foremen. Blue helmets are assigned to all general crew members. Also, all helmets will have the contractor's company name marked on the right side. This helps identify which company each worker belongs to. With this color-coded system, we can quickly and easily identify everyone's role, ensuring efficient communication and safety on site. Let's discuss about the occupational safety and life-saving rules that we must adhere to. All personnel must strictly follow the life-saving terms in accordance with the Taiwan's Ministry of Economic Affairs occupational safety regulations. These rules are designed to protect each one of us from potential hazards. When working at heights of 2 meters or above, it's important to implement proper fall prevention measures. This includes using adequate fall prevention controls, such as safety harnesses. During electrical inspections, operations, and maintenance, always apply safety protective equipment and use lockout, tagout methods. This means making sure that all electrical equipment is properly shut down and tagged to prevent accidental reactivation. This procedure is especially important when working with or near live wires. Necessary permit is obtained prior to carrying out any hot work at the owner's premises, that means TPC-controlled premises. The applications for the permits for hot works such as fusing cutting, electric welding, or incineration are submitted to the owner's representative in advance before the construction can be carried out. For any confined space activities, always secure a work permit. Ensure that there is adequate ventilation and lighting and conduct gas testing to ensure a safe working environment. Confined spaces can pose significant risks, so these precautions are very important. In operational areas, all workers must wear appropriate personal protective equipment. This includes helmets with chin strap, safety glasses, coveralls, safety shoes, gloves, and other necessary gear based on the type of activity you are performing. No one is allowed to enter the project site without complying with the PPE requirements. Please ensure that you always acquire authorization before bypassing any safety systems or devices. This ensures that any changes or adjustments are made with full awareness and approval, maintaining the integrity of our safety protocols. Okay. In this slide, we discuss about some basic personal safety rules in marine operations. Each crew member must be equipped with a SOLAS-approved PFD, personal flotation device, during offshore helicopter transfers, boarding or disembarking from watercraft, and any operations near or over water, especially within 2 meters of an unprotected edge. For example, if you're working near the edge of a platform, always wear your PFD to prevent drowning in case of a fall. Ensure your safety equipment is regularly inspected and maintained. It must be functional and accessible at all times and compliant with the latest safety standards and regulations. For instance, check your PFD for any signs of wear and tear before each use to ensure it will function properly in an emergency. Participation in emergency drills is mandatory. These drills prepare you for real-life situations and ensure that you know how to respond quickly and effectively. Familiarize yourself with the locations of emergency equipment on the vessel, platform, or offshore structure, and understand the communication procedures in case of an emergency. Knowing where the fire extinguishers and lifeboats are located can save precious time during an emergency. Lone working is strictly prohibited, especially in high-risk areas. Always work in teams to ensure direct supervision and assistance if needed. Remember, safety is everyone's responsibility, and adhering to these practices protects not only yourself but also your colleagues. Yes, let us now discuss about another important topic: electrical safety. Our focus is not just about following procedures but understanding the why behind them. For instance, why do we emphasize de-energizing and using the LODO system? It's simple, it saves lives, and when we talk about insulated tools and PPE, we are talking about your personal line of defense against electrical hazards. Have you ever noticed frayed wires or overloaded circuits around you? These are not just irregularities. They are direct threats to our safety, and it is not just about spotting them. It is about taking action, which means reporting them immediately. Accidents, as much as we try to prevent them, can happen. But being prepared, knowing how to respond, especially to electrical fires, can make all the difference. This is why we insist on regular inspections and maintenance. It's not just a checkbox. It's an important step in hazard prevention. Remember, electrical work is not for everyone. It requires specific authorization and training. This brings us to another key point: the importance of regular training updates. It's not just about staying compliant. It's about staying safe. Adhering to safety codes and standards, especially in Taiwan and for our specific projects, is non-negotiable. It's part of our commitment to safety, to each other, and to the community we work in. Let's keep these points in mind as we go about our day. So now let us address a critical aspect of workplace safety: work at height. Working at height is inherently risky, and our first strategy is always to eliminate the need to work at height whenever possible. If working at height is unavoidable, we must implement every measure to minimize the risk of falls. This starts with a thorough risk assessment to establish a safe work platform. Before any work begins, we must secure all edges, cover any openings, and ensure there is safe access and egress to the work areas. Training on working at height is mandatory for all involved personnel. This training is designed to equip our workers with the knowledge to work safely at height, including the use of fall protection equipment. Also, regular inspections of fall protection gear are very important. It is essential that all workers wear the appropriate fall protection equipment when they're outside protected areas, as required by our safety protocols. Our approach prioritizes planning and redesigning work processes to enable as much work as possible to be completed at ground level. This is part of our commitment to safety-first thinking. In scenarios where tasks cannot be carried out at ground level, it is the responsibility of each facility or site management to ensure that adequate and suitable resources are provided. This means having certified scaffolding, purpose-designed access platforms, scissor lifts, or other approved man-lifting equipment to ensure safe work in elevated areas. So let us remember that any worker who is working at a height of 2 meters or more above the ground or floor level is required to wear a safety harness. This is more than just a guideline. It is a critical safety requirement that protects lives. In this slide, let us focus on the critical measures for fire protection and prevention. It is the responsibility of our site supervisors and HSE personnel to ensure these safeguards are firmly in place. At our project site, it is important that we have adequate firefighting equipment available on site. This equipment must not only be present but also regularly checked, tested, and maintained to guarantee its functionality when it matters most. Each month, our vigilant site HSE inspectors should conduct visual inspections of all fire extinguishers. Also, a comprehensive annual check is carried out by a third-party service to ensure strict adherence to safety standards, and records of these inspections are meticulously kept for audit purposes. We will discuss more about the fire protection and prevention in the next slide. Moving on from the previous slide, in the event of a fire, even extinguishers that are taken to the scene but not used must be inspected by a competent person before they are returned to their station. Any extinguisher found to be unfit must be removed from service immediately and replaced without delay to maintain our readiness. Consistency is key, so fire extinguishers are pressure tested following the manufacturer's recommendations, as well as regulatory requirements, to ensure they are always at peak performance. Maintaining good housekeeping is not just about cleanliness, it reduces fire threats and ensures clear access for emergency response. This is why we enforce it as a daily discipline. Let us also remember, smoking is only permitted in designated smoking areas, which are equipped with proper ashtrays and signboard. Using waste bins for this purpose is strictly prohibited. Before any hot work begins, such as grinding or welding, gas cutting, a thorough check for flammable materials and clearances is mandatory, taking into account both the immediate area and the wind direction. Flammable products have their special place in approved containers and storage cabinets, with clear, "No hot work" signs posted and fire extinguishers within reach. Let us begin with understanding what constitutes a confined space. It is typically an area that is either completely or partially enclosed, not designed for people to work in continuously, and has limited entry and exit points. Common examples include tanks, silos, or ductwork. The risks associated with confined spaces are significant. These include inadequate oxygen levels, the presence of toxic gases, and poor ventilation. There is also the potential for fire or explosion, and the exposure to various hazardous substances, and importantly, evacuating these spaces in an emergency can be challenging. Entry into these spaces at our site requires a permit. This is not just a formality. It is a critical step ensuring all hazards have been assessed and safety measures are in place, including necessary air quality testing. Safety equipment is non-negotiable. This includes personal protective equipment, like respirators and harnesses, and essential tools like gas detectors. Plus, we must always have rescue and emergency equipment readily available. Training is vital. It is important to ensure you are fully trained for working in confined spaces. This training covers the risks, the use of safety equipment, and emergency procedures. Speaking of emergencies, we have established rescue plans and clear emergency contacts. Regular drills are part of our routine to ensure readiness. Last but not least, supervision is important. A trained supervisor monitors confined space work to ensure adherence to safety protocols. Let us talk about the importance of equipment inspections and certifications, a crucial aspect of maintaining safety and reliability in our operations. Regular inspections and certifications are essential for all critical equipment, such as cranes, lifting gear, and design tools for its intended purpose. Think of this like your car's regular service checkup. It ensures everything is functioning properly and safely. Just like how you would not drive a car with faulty brakes, we can't operate our equipment without ensuring it's in top condition. All equipment must pass safety inspections and possess valid, recognized test certificates for operation. This is similar to having a driver's license. Just as a license proves you are qualified to drive, these certificates prove that our equipment is safe to use. Subcontractor equipment certificates must be available upon the employer's request. This means that if we are working with subcontractors, we need to ensure their equipment is also certified and safe. It's like checking a rental car's service history before driving it. Scheduled inspections prevent equipment failure. Records and certificates are accessible to the employer. Think of this like a routine health checkup. Early detection prevents major issues later. These records ensure we know the history and condition of our equipment at all times. Quarterly inspections for all electrical tools, welding machines, and power leads must be conducted by a trained and competent personnel. Imagine it as having a certified mechanic inspect your vehicle every few months. This frequent check helps detect any wear and tear early on. Inspection results must be recorded in a register with equipment ID, inspection date, and inspector's details. This is like keeping a detailed maintenance log for your car. It helps us track what has been done and when, ensuring accountability and traceability. Also, rigging gear and electrical equipment should be color-coded post-inspection to indicate serviceability. Think of this as a visual cue, similar to a green sticker showing that your car passed emissions testing. This color coding helps everyone quickly identify whether the equipment is safe to use. Okay. Now let us dive into another important topic of plant, machinery, and equipment safety. We need to ensure that all provided equipment is suitable for its intended use and maintains safety compliance. Think of it like using the right tool for a job at home. You would not use a kitchen knife to tighten a screw because it's not designed for that purpose and it wouldn't be safe. Implementing safety measures is next. This includes warning signs, protective guards, and special markings to prevent accidents. Imagine driving without road signs or traffic lights. It would be chaotic and dangerous. Similarly, These safety measures guide and protect us while we operate machinery. Modifications to equipment must have the manufacturer's written approval. This is like modifying your car. You would not install a part without ensuring it's compatible and approved by the manufacturer, to avoid risking your safety and the car's performance. Equipment should only be operated by trained personnel familiar with its functions. Just like you need a license to drive, you need proper training to safely operate machinery. This ensures that everyone knows how to use the equipment correctly and safely. Regular inspections and maintenance are essential to ensure equipment is in good operating condition. Think of it as regular health checkups for your machinery, catching any issues early before they become major problems. Powered mobile equipment must meet legislative safety requirements, including seatbelts and rollover protective structures. And also use equipment strictly according to the manufacturer's recommendations. This is like following a recipe exactly to ensure the dish turns out right. Following the manufacturer's guidelines ensures the equipment operates safely and efficiently. Hand and power tools are impotent for our work, but their safety and proper use are paramount. We have strict protocols to ensure that all tools are not only effective but also safe to use. Every tool on our site, whether hand-operated or power-driven, is in top condition with a proven quality record. We do not compromise on quality because the safety of our team and the efficiency of our work depend on it. Regarding power tools, we only use those that are approved and double insulated. This double insulation is important as it provides an additional layer of safety against electric shock, a key consideration in a construction environment. Regular inspections are important. Our authorized personnel conduct periodic inspections and implement a color coding system for easy identification of all power tools. This ensures that any potential issues are caught early and addressed. We also make sure no tools are subjected to loads beyond their capacity, and let us be clear, unauthorized modifications on any tools are strictly prohibited. These practices can lead to accidents and are not tolerated on our site. Each tool and piece of equipment undergoes regular inspections, and importantly, an inspection prior to each use. This is a responsibility shared by our craft supervisors and all employees. Tools are always handled by trained users, and wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment is non-negotiable. This is how we maintain a safe working environment. Only those who are trained and competent are assigned to handle power tools. This is not just about skill, but also about understanding the risks and knowing how to mitigate them. If a tool is defective or deemed unsafe, it is taken out of service immediately. No compromises. Scaffolding safety is another critical aspect on a construction site. Let us go through some basic safety rules. It is essential that all scaffolding erection and dismantling are carried out by trained and certified personnel. Compliance with local laws and regulations is not just a suggestion, it's mandatory. We also use a scaffold tag system for weekly inspections, performed by qualified scaffold inspectors. For instance, a green tag indicates the scaffold is complete and safe for access, much like a green light signaling it's safe to proceed. Conversely, a red tag means the scaffold is incomplete and unsafe to use, similar to a red light indicating danger. Stop and fix it before proceeding. For offshore scaffolding work, especially overboard activities, it is restricted to daylight hours only. This is because visibility is important for safety, much like how outdoor activities are safer during the day when you can see clearly. Also, a standby vessel with rescue craft must be available, ensuring quick response in case of an emergency. When working over water, personal flotation devices and fall arresters are mandatory. These personal flotation devices must be SOLAS approved, providing a minimum buoyancy of 275 newtons and equipped with self-inflating and righting capabilities. Imagine them as your safety net, ensuring you stay afloat and upright if you fall into the water. Alright, let us review the key points for people transfer management and ensure we cover basic information you need to know about safe personnel transfer methods during offshore operations. SFE has a specific procedure for offshore personnel transfer, which outlines various methods to be used. Also, all employees will receive site-based training based on the relevant personnel transfer methods. Please remember, always wear a proper life jacket where there is a risk of falling into the water. Use only designated embarkation or disembarkation points. These points are specifically chosen for their safety features, much like using crosswalks when crossing the street. Transfers should be postponed when weather conditions exceed safe limits. It's like choosing not to drive during a storm. Safety should always come first, even if it means delaying operations. When climbing during transfers, maintain 3 points of contact. This means always having 2 hands and 1 foot, or 2 feet and 1 hand in contact with the ladder. This practice ensures stability and prevents falls. Avoid wearing backpacks when climbing transfer ladders. Backpacks can throw off your balance and make it more difficult to maintain those 3 points of contact. Always use safe means of transfer that comply with standards. For example, using approved personnel transfer baskets or boats designed for such transfers ensures everyone's safety. In the transfer vessels at a minimum, there should be a skipper and a deckhand on board. This is similar to having a qualified driver and co-driver for long road trips to ensure safety and manage any emergencies. Transfer vessels must be fit for purpose and equipped with sufficient life jackets. Adhere to IMCA SEL 025, M202 and offshore personal transfer procedures. These guidelines are established based on industry best practices, and compliance ensures a high standard of safety during transfers. In addition to information I have just discussed, let's go through some specific points listed in this slide about the personnel transfer basket. A conclusive risk assessment is essential. Always conduct a thorough risk assessment before any transfer to identify and mitigate potential hazards. Next, a pre-transfer safety briefing is crucial. Ensure everyone involved in the transfer understands the procedures and safety measures. Defined weather and environmental thresholds are also important. Know the weather and environmental conditions that are safe for transfers, and do not proceed if these thresholds are exceeded. Suitability and certification of cranes for man riding are necessary. Only use cranes that are certified for carrying personnel. Crew familiarity with transfer protocols is vital. All crew members should be well versed in the transfer procedures to ensure smooth and safe operations. Certified basket integrity must be maintained. Regularly inspect and certify transfer baskets to ensure they are in good condition. Clear visibility for crane operators or banksmen is required. Ensure crane operators or banksmen have unobstructed views during the transfer. Offshore construction or site manager's approval is needed when required. Obtain necessary approvals from site managers for transfers. Clear, adequately sized, and illuminated landing areas are essential. Ensure landing areas are safe and well lit. Defined communication protocols should be in place. Maintain clear communication with at least one person in radio contact with the crane operator. Utilization of taglines helps control the basket during transfers. Appropriate personal flotation devices should always be worn for safety. Environmental visibility is important. Ensure good visibility of the surroundings to avoid accidents. Regular equipment inspections are necessary. Conduct regular inspections to ensure all equipment is in good working order. Explicit emergency protocols should be established. Have clear emergency protocols in place and ensure everyone knows what to do in case of an emergency. All these guidelines are to ensure that personnel transfers during offshore operations are conducted safely and efficiently. In this slide, let us review the essentials for lifting operations. We need to ensure all our cranes at the project site have these key elements to keep everything safe and running smoothly. First up, we need relevant valid test certificates. These are like the crane's report cards, proving they've passed all necessary tests and are safe to use. Next, we have thorough examination reports. Think of these as detailed health checkups for the cranes, making sure every part is in good working condition. The manufacturer's handbook is also essential. This is the crane's manual, containing all the important information on how to operate, maintain, and troubleshoot the crane. We also need a daily crane visual inspection record. Every day, a quick visual inspection helps us spot any obvious issues before they become big problems. It's like doing a pre-flight check before taking off. Periodic maintenance records are another must-have. Regular maintenance ensures the cranes are always in top condition and helps prevent unexpected breakdowns. Valid crane operating certificates, licenses of the operator are important. This ensures that the person operating the crane is fully qualified and knows exactly what they are doing. For our banksmen, they need to be trained and have training documentation available for inspection on site. Banksmen guide the crane operator, so their training is vital for safe operations. Banksmen also need to use a high-visibility safety vest during the lifting operation. This makes sure they are easily seen by everyone, reducing the risk of accidents. Finally, we have crane duty charts, load radius tables. These charts should be displayed on or available in the crane for easy reference in a language the operator understands. Also, the crane manufacturer's operating and erection manuals should be available on site in both Chinese and English. These charts and manuals help operators understand the crane's capabilities and limitations, ensuring safe operation. Let's go over the safety protocols for offshore lifting operations. These are important to ensuring that we carry out our lifting tasks safely and efficiently. We need to make sure that only trained and licensed operators are allowed to handle cranes and conduct lifts. We need to continuously monitor wind speed and sea conditions. If conditions worsen beyond safe limits, we halt operations immediately. It's essential to ensure all lifting zones are clearly identified and barricaded. This helps everyone know where the lifting is happening and keeps unauthorized personnel out of dangerous areas. Keep lifting equipment well maintained. Just like you wouldn't drive a car with a flat tire, we shouldn't use equipment that's not in top condition. Regular maintenance prevents breakdowns and accidents. Confirm communication methods and ensure all lifting plans are clear and agreed upon before commencing operations. Good communication is key. Never exceed the safe working load of lifting equipment. This one is straightforward. Overloading equipment is a recipe for disaster. Regularly monitor the physical and mental health of all personnel is also important. We also need to maintain up-to-date records of all equipment checks, personnel certifications, and lifting plans as per Marine Warranty Surveyor requirements. Keeping records ensures everything is documented and verifiable. It's like keeping a logbook for all our safety measures. Adhere to international regulations for preventing collisions at sea. Display appropriate signs, lights, and use the foghorn as required. The management of dangerous substances and hazardous materials is important. These can come in many forms, such as solids, liquids, gases, mists, dust, fumes, or vapors, and they pose risks through inhalation, skin contact, or ingestion. It's like a buffet of hazards, but not the kind you want to indulge in. As contractors, we need to control exposure to these hazards. Our mission is to protect our employees by preventing these substances from entering their bodies. Let us go over the minimum requirements for handling and communicating the dangers of hazardous chemicals. Employees handling hazardous substances need to be well versed with the safety data sheets, SDS. These sheets are like the ultimate cheat sheet as they contain all the important information on how to handle, store, and dispose of chemicals safely. Ensuring the use of appropriate PPE as recommended by the SDS isn't just good practice, it's a requirement. SDSs must be readily accessible in the workplace. They should be available during each shift where the substances are used or stored, ensuring that everyone has the information they need at all times. Imagine needing a lifeline and not having it. That's why these sheets are so important. A COSH assessment, control of substances hazardous to health, is another essential step before using any hazardous substance. This assessment helps identify the risks and the necessary controls to keep everyone safe. If there is any uncertainty about a substance, the protocol is clear. Seek advice from your supervisor or HSE personnel before proceeding. Do not play the guessing game with hazardous materials, it is not a fun game. Proper labeling of each container, whether bulk or drum, is important for immediate hazard identification and ensuring everyone knows what they are dealing with. Imagine mistaking a bottle of water for a bottle of acid, definitely not a mix-up we want. Chemical storage, another important point, which needs to be addressed properly. Designated areas with appropriate bunding and spill prevention measures are a must to prevent any accidental releases. Transferring substances to another container? The new container must be correctly labeled to maintain safety communication continuity. And let's not forget about emergency response. Facilities like emergency showers and eye wash stations must be installed where hazardous materials are handled. These should be easily accessible and clearly signposted. Training is the final piece of the puzzle. Any employee handling or exposed to hazardous substances must receive the right training to manage these materials safely. Remember, managing hazardous materials is about diligence and continual awareness. It's about having the right information and the right protections in place. As we wrap up this HSE induction presentation, I want to emphasize the crucial role you play in maintaining a safe and healthy work environment. Your vigilance, adherence to safety protocols, and proactive approach to identifying and mitigating hazards are vital to our collective well-being. Remember, safety is not just a set of rules to follow. It's a mindset that prioritizes the health and safety of everyone on site. By integrating the principles we have discussed today into your daily routines, you contribute significantly to a culture of safety that protects you, your colleagues, and the environment. If you ever have questions related to these topics that we have discussed today or need clarification on any safety matters, our HSE department is always available to support you. Don't hesitate to reach out. We are here to help you stay safe. Now, it's time for the test. Don't worry. As I mentioned in the first slide, you need to attend the knowledge test to assess your understanding. The link to the knowledge test question paper can be found in the email you received from the HSE department. You must obtain a 70% mark to be considered successful in this course. And here is the secret code you have all been waiting for. The password for opening the knowledge test paper is SAFETY. That is SAFETY, all lowercase letters. Easy to remember, right? So, let's work together to ensure that every day is a safe day. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and let's make safety our top priority. Once again, thank you for your dedication and participation.